the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, who joins us now. Better late than never. We finally got you. Matt Hancock, good morning to you.
Well, it's very nice to hear from you. Are you okay?
I'm very well indeed. How are you after your battles for the last half hour with Piers Morgan on GMB?
Like a pussycat.
Which one, you or him?
Well, I'll leave that for you, Julia, to decide. The important thing is that there's a lot of good things happening, a lot of challenges remaining, and so we were able to talk about it. Okay. The Prime Minister self-isolating, I'm sure we'll get onto that.
Well, let's get onto that right now. The Prime Minister is self-isolating. He had COVID 6 months ago. If someone has to self-isolate for 2 weeks, despite having had COVID, I mean, how does that bode for the vaccine? Because the whole point of the vaccine is it gives you a level of immunity. If we're assuming that people don't have immunity from having the virus, doesn't that also mean you don't have immunity from having the vaccine? So in what way does the rollout of the vaccine actually enable us to get back to normal life?
That is a great question. And there's a really clear scientific answer, which is that with the vaccine, because we have a trial with 43,000 people, we've been able to measure the answer to exactly that question. When it comes to individuals who, like the Prime Minister, like me, had coronavirus, it's only by actually then following some people who have had it that we can answer that question for people who got the disease in the community.
You don't need a trial for that. I mean, we've got the World Health Organization reckon that something like 750 million people have had the virus. 50 million confirmed to have had the virus around the world. Only 5 people have been confirmed out of all those many tens of millions of people to got infected a second time.
Well, the problem is that we haven't been able to measure until now the number of people who track people who have had it and check that they don't get it again. The reported numbers are don't necessarily pick up all the cases. However, the good news, Julia, is that we have a piece of research that's going on to answer exactly that question. And at the same time, of course, the vaccine clinical trials study that question. And I think everybody was relieved, and there was this air of hope that was injected into the country, actually into the world, when we got the news of the effectiveness of the first vaccine that we got results for from Pfizer last week.
When we have a vaccine, various vaccines proven to be safe and they get rolled out, will the vaccine ever be compulsory, or will it enable, say, access to, for instance, travel? If you haven't had the vaccine, you can't get on a plane, or you can't use certain public services. You can't, for instance, send your children to school. Or will we be looking at some compulsory element to the vaccine?
Well, it's complex because there's some people who, for medical reasons, can't have a vaccine. And so it does have to be, it's a complex question. Of course, I want as many people as possible to take it, and we won't be allowing it. We won't be regulating it. The regulators wouldn't let it happen until it is both effective, which we know on the BioNTech Pfizer one, and safe. And the safety is critical as well. So that's what we've got. That's the next stage. That's what we've got to get through.
No, but it's not that complex a question, is it? Are we going to force people to have the vaccine or not?
Well, we're not proposing that it'll be mandatory. Partly for the reasons that I set out, that some people can't have it for instance, for medical reasons. But we do want a very large proportion of people to take it. And this year, the biggest proportion ever of the population are taking the flu vaccine, the most ever, and that's for good reason. So I hope that we can. I hope we can take that to the next level.
You're categorically ruling out it becoming okay. We understand there are people who can't take any vaccines, or MMR. Some children can't have MMR, and the reason we know that. But for the large scale population who could safely have this vaccine, you are categorically ruling out making it compulsory or mandatory, or having any public services or of access to anything contingent on people having the vaccine. Is that correct?
Well, I hope that a very large proportion of people will want to take the vaccine because it's the right thing to do. Well, and we haven't. We're not proposing at this stage to make it mandatory.
At this stage, so you're not you are not ruling out a mandatory vaccination program.
Honestly, I've learned not to rule things out during this pandemic because you have to watch what happens and you have to make judgments accordingly.
So you're saying that it is totally feasible, it is totally still on the cards, that we could see people effectively being held down and forcibly given the vaccine or imprisoned if they refuse to have the vaccine?
Well, you're trying to put words into my mouth both one way and then the other, and I'm not going to. I'm going to explain what the position is, which is that we don't plan a mandatory element.
As long as enough people use the vaccine.
Well, not least because of the complications that there are around that, because some people can't have it.
Those would be exempt, wouldn't they? And what do you make of the Labour position about having an anti-vax fake news ban, emergency laws brought in to stop dissemination of fake facts about made up lies, basically, about the risks of vaccinations generally? Do you think that there should be a social media ban on this?
Well, we've got a huge amount of work going on this, and there's working with and pushing the social media companies to play their part. In the very large part, they already are, but there's more things that we can do together, and that's what we're working on.